I started from nothing, never knew where my next meal was coming. But I transformed my life, I stay one step ahead. Mindset of disruption, I own the edge. This is the ThrillCast, where I bring the wisdom you need. Everyone is selling knowledge, I give mine away for free. I'm as real as it gets, you either love or hate me. Best believe I'm Major League Bill Hines, that's me. This is the ThrillCast. This is the ThrillCast. This is the ThrillCast.
Welcome everybody to the ThrillCast. This is our second podcast back from a long hiatus, and we have a very exciting guest today. It's kind of diving into areas that I don't know anything about. When we start talking about it, you'll understand it. But we have John Rotolo here today. He's a podcaster and comedian. And John, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on, Bill. What is up, ThrillCast audience members? Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
You know, my listeners in the ThrillCast world, you know, they're used to seeing stuff with like music, or like Chad Gracie, and you got the drums in the background there, and obviously all racing and other sports related stuff. So there's going to be a treat. And I know, you know, my producer and the other part of the team, we've always wanted to have, you know, to branch out and just bring other, you know, eclectic and, you know, mesmerizing individuals on and just get a different perspective. So, yeah.
So I'll apologize to your audience in advance then for me being on. I'm probably not their cup of tea. But
that's not true.
I will do my best to give you guys some entertaining stories in the fascinating life of John Rotolo.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So you have a podcast. What is that podcast? Because then we could have people just go see what you're about as well.
Sure. So it's kind of confusing, but if you're looking for it, Good Times Universe, just type that into, you know, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or Pandora, all that stuff, and you should find it. But the weird thing is that's kind of the name of my production company, and the podcast I do is the J-Ro Show. But I kind of started it off all together under Good Times U, so I haven't separated it yet. So if you're looking for the podcast or my stand-up comedy stuff too, it's all under Good Times Universe. Eventually, I'll break them out into separate things, but for now, it's just all under that umbrella.
Nice.
Let me make sure that is...
Oh, it's okay. We keep that in. This is the way it's unscripted, you know? It's not,
yes, sir.
Yeah.
That was the president calling. He wants me to help him with his 2024 campaign.
Or his speech patterns, right?
Yes.
Just kidding.
Joe, breathe.
That's funny. So with the so your comedy, you know, you've been doing some gigs, and you know, tell us about your next gig.
Yeah. So I don't know when this is coming out, but March 12th, which is the next Sunday coming up, I have a nice gig at the Producers Club in the Rose Room. It's one of their bigger rooms. It's my first paid gig as a stand-up comedian. I've been doing this for going on
Drinks on John.
Drinks on me, yes.
I don't drink.
So perfect. Then definitely they're on me. So I'm definitely excited about it. I'm nervous. Like I said, I'm about 2 months into this journey, but I am not stopping until I have a tour bus with my face on it, and I'm going all across the United States.
That's actually, I like that goal. I actually love that goal, that you actually see, and I'm big on that. Like, you see it, you believe it. I'm one about the power of positive thinking.
Yeah.
You know, what a good goal to have. And so what type of material, you know, for the listeners are you in? Because there's obviously different types of comedians, and they, like, some are more like, you know, off their reservation. Some are more like dirty.
Yeah.
Like, where are you at in the realm?
I'm no holds barred. So all topics are good topics to me.
My kind of guy.
Yeah. Like I start off the show with, you know, asking the audience, like, let them know, like, it's crazy, you got to be PC nowadays, and, like, when did it become inappropriate to joke about fucking your dog? You know, so, like, right away, I get out there to let them know that, like, this shit is all funny, crazy, made up. Nobody's fucking our dogs here, so it's all just
Goats,
fun.
Yeah.
And I have little dogs too, so if they actually think I bang those dogs, it'd be a little weird because they're small.
Don't do that to dogs. I'm a dog lover. There was a meme the other day and says, you know, I like dogs. Like, dogs are better than most people.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like, I go a step further, because you heard people where they put peanut butter on their balls and then they let the dogs lick it off. I give my dogs the reach around. I put peanut butter on their balls and I lick it off of them. So I help them out. You know, you gotta spread the love.
I wish I could see their two guys' faces right now.
It's probably like the audience faces when I say it, they're like,
don't talk about cats. Somebody will throw something at you.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Cat guy.
I sometimes do audience work, and I was doing like a joke about an ugly guy or girl, and then I by mistake actually pointed to an ugly guy or girl, and like I just felt bad when I did it, like because her face was like, why me? And I was like, the room was dark, and I didn't realize until I like pointed there. So that's not my humor. I never I like to make jokes and stuff like that at my expense. Other people's expense, I can handle it, but never I felt bad there.
I actually like the jokes that kind of make people feel uncomfortable and make them think. You know, it's like, you know.
Yes, yes. That's fun. The awkward silence, and then when the joke clicks, that's like my favorite.
Did you get a chance to see the Chris Rock? Because being a comedian, I just wanted to pick your brain on that because what he did, what Will Smith did to Chris Rock, I thought was just nuts. Like,
absolutely,
because and I watched it, and I thought for him waiting as long as he did, and then like the one thing you should never do is fuck with a comedian. I say because they're gonna wait, and they're talented. Like your brains work different,
right? And
you're gonna have all the time in the world, and when they come, like he went in on him.
He did.
And I don't have any problem with what Chris Rock did because of how the whole thing happened. Like literally it's like Jada Pinkett was out there like
blowing.
Like what he said was,
yeah.
When's the last time we all get cheated on, right?
Right.
That's what they said. When's the last time you got interviewed by the person you cheated on? Like that was a great line. Like, hey, so I was sucking somebody's dick. How'd you feel about that? Like what? As the comedians, like to me, I don't think there was one comedian that like backed Will Smith. They're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Well, yeah, I guess like after it happened and people had time to reflect, everybody was like, Will Smith's a dick. But let's not forget that like 20 minutes after that happened, all of Hollywood gave him a standing ovation for when he won the Oscar. So, yeah, I was happy to see Chris Rock go in there and do that awesome live Netflix thing and really kind of lace into both Jada and Will in still a comedic way. It wasn't really bad blood to it. You know what I'm saying?
I don't even think it was vindictive. I mean, I was just saying like, hey, that happened to me, and I'm going to talk about it.
Right.
One of the funniest things I heard was when he says, yeah, like I fucking have Summertime playing in my ear. And then he goes, drums, please. Like that was fucking just a hilarious line to me.
It's classic.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this brought out a vengeance in Chris Rock. I think he was getting wrapped up in the whole Hollywood side of things.
Yep.
And then he realized real quickly, like, these are all fake people, man. Like when push comes to shove, they're going to stand up and clap for somebody who just slapped me in the face. So, I think he is diving back into the stand-up thing, and I think he did beautiful on that live stream. And that was a first, right? That was Netflix first live stream
show. Yeah, and actually, so when I went to watch it the first night, it was already done, and then I went into it, and it was this longer thing, whereas the first hour and a half, they had so he was in Baltimore, but they had like the pre-show, and it was at the Comedy Club or the one that Pauly Shore's mom owns out in like West Hollywood. They had a few people going there, and they had a really nice looking, and then they had an after show to talk about it afterwards.
Oh,
but so when if you go on the special, you only get his hour,
right?
But there was like a before, which was fucking hilarious, and then there was an after, which were like, it was almost like a sporting event. They're like, so when he said this, what'd you think about? Like it was
oh man,
I was like. In sports, they do color commentary or at halftime. So after the show, they just sat around and were like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about this? And
wow.
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious.
When I watched it, I guess, a day or two after it streamed, and it said, stay tuned after for something, but it said only during live show. So that must be what I missed.
Yeah. So when you went back to watch it, it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
But you could tell, but it was like, they were basically giving you again, like it was the Super Bowl, like afterwards,
Hell
like,
yeah.
Hey, what'd you think of this? It was, and then everyone talking about it. But that to me is like one. I think that they should have even not given him Oscar that night.
He should have been thrown out of the Oscars.
Yeah, they should have been.
I mean, let's just chalk it up for what it was. When Chris Rock first said the joke, the cameras cut to Will Smith. He's laughing.
Yeah.
And then
his wife laughing too.
So she wasn't, and I think that's where he then got upset. And then once he saw her not laughing, then he goes up and fucking does it. But now, if that was The Rock and not Chris Rock who said that joke, that motherfucker ain't going nowhere. He ain't slapping nobody.
I think if it was Dave Chappelle, you ain't going nowhere.
Exactly.
Dave Chappelle go gangster.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad. And Chris Rock handled it like a champ.
Like you said, he took that shit like Pacquiao. That's what he said. He's like, I took that shot like Pacquiao. And then, I mean, that was good. So what would you do if you were on stage and someone came up and like I said, you say, hey, the ugly girl, what if her boyfriend came up? And because it now it's like, to me, is like you being a comedian, right?
Yeah.
And again, that's part of the thing. Like you're picking on him. Like what's that guy, Matt Rife? He does a lot of that stuff, right? He goes in on people like in the audience. But so what if there's like a boyfriend that's jealous or the girlfriend that's jealous and something happens and now like with Will Smith doing it, almost like gives like it's okay to go do that, and that's not okay. Like that's
for sure.
If you got thin skin, don't go to a comedy show.
Don't go to a comedy show.
Don't go to a comedy show.
100%. Good question, Bill. So I grew up with the mouth and voice of a comedian. So like I was saying things to be funny, and a lot of times it would get taken the wrong way. And it did, get me into a lot.
Get beat up a lot? I'm just kidding.
Fortunately, no. My father put me in wrestling at a young age, so I knew how to defend myself from a young age. And I always, did my best to avoid fights. But like I said, my mouth would sometimes go, and you could only apologize so much. A punch is thrown.
Yeah.
You got to defend yourself. So I did get into a decent amount of fights growing up. I've gotten to some in my older age, too. On stage, though, that didn't really spark anything. Nobody's like, you could have banter and stuff, but nobody's getting up to come at you. I mean, I haven't seen it yet, to be honest.
That's good.
Yeah.
I when I saw it, I was like, I hope that doesn't give people like a license to become a fucking asshole at a live event. Or even like, example, like if like the band Live or whatever, any band's playing, Metallica, and like, the singer says something, or maybe they like cut a set list short or something, and it gives like the fans an opportunity to interfere with the artist and what they're doing. Like it's like just stay in your fucking seat. Or even in sports, like now I guess in college it's acceptable where they rush the court or rush the field.
Yeah, after the game's over.
Like even that, I'm like, all right, you don't need to break the goalpost down and take them down to Bourbon Street, like.
Hey, I've been on Rutgers Field after they won a game. I didn't take down the field goal
Their
post.
only win? I'm just kidding.
This was like 5-6 years ago. But a company I was working for got me beautiful seats, and then they won, jumped up on the field, partying with the team. Like it just seemed, I saw everybody doing it. I was like, let's go. But bands kind of got it a little bit easier. Like a comedian, it's pretty much just you and the crowd. Bands, you sometimes have that barrier there. Yeah.
Security, a lot of security.
Security, exactly. So you just got to watch. Like I said, my humor is definitely off the wall, but it's a lot of on myself or my family. It's not really picking up.
You got any like clips on YouTube or anything? Or will this new gig, this paid gig, will that be like recorded and you're going to upload it somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of thought about this whole thing like really well before I went into it. So I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I just kind of never knew how. Like growing up, like I just loved to make people laugh. Like in school, that was what I wanted to do. Like, okay, learn, and then just figure out how to make the class laugh or whatever. So I always wanted to do it, but it just seemed like very kind of daunting. I'm like, what do you just get up there and talk? Like, yeah. So then I started listening to comedians and figuring out how they do it, and I started following their process. So from the beginning, I started videotaping my writing sessions, videotaping my practice sessions. I videoed myself going to my first open mic. I videoed the first open mic. So I've been taking videos of this whole journey for when I do hit it big, that I have already a pre-made documentary ready to rock and roll.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Not many people have the kind of like the presence of mind to know that. And again, I think it has something to do with your vision and your ability, saying, I see my face on a tour bus.
100.
And the fact that you can see that, you're like, okay, well, I know where I'm going. It's going to be somewhere special. Let me document this journey.
Yeah. It's the strangest thing, Bill. So I'm 40 years old now, and
Spring chicken.
Yeah. And, your whole life you hear all these, what you think are cliche sayings, like, whatever you want, just put your mind to it, focus 100% into it. Anything you want is attainable. And, hearing that growing up, I always believed it, but I just never really implemented it. And just with this stand-up comedy thing, I have so much passion to do it and so much drive to do it that I'm starting to see that as long as you work hard at whatever the hell you want, you can achieve your goals. So, I did my short-term goals, long-term goals, and slowly but surely starting to check them off as I go. And like I said, I'm not stopping until this is on a tour bus going around the United States and making people laugh all over the continental United States. We'll go check out Hawaii and Alaska too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, well, maybe you'll be on the side of one of my stadium super trucks.
There you go.
Put your face on there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll do that. Actually, it's funny, we obviously didn't know each other before Facebook and stuff, so I wanted to, got to know John through some like Facebook groups and stuff like that. But then, interestingly enough, beforehand, before we went live, we just started talking about each other. So I do want to bring this up because it's like such a contrasting way of life type of thing. We got to talking beforehand, and I was telling John, and most of my listeners know, most people know that, like, I've never had a drink of alcohol in my life.
I was shocked,
and I've never done a drug in my life. And here's the thing about that, and to put people close to me know, and I always say, when people find out for the first time, if you're at a bar or something like that, I go, well, I do enough stupid shit sober. And I think you've probably like, yeah, okay, I can see that. So could you imagine? And like my friend, like Chad Gracie, he's like, Bill, if you ever decide to drink or do drugs, I need to be there for that one.
Yes, I need to be there too.
They're like, what bill are we getting? Like the funny bill. So, and obviously you said, well, I don't have that problem. I have drink and I've done drugs. And we've always talked about this on the podcast. Like, we wanted to bring somebody on here, like a marijuana expert, like that had all the things. Cause I just don't know. And kind of like, this is why I don't do it. This is why you should do it. And we never got to that point, but I just think it's cool to have that type of
yin yang type of deal. The other spectrum.
My point is, just because it's not for me doesn't mean it's not for everyone. I know there's benefits to marijuana and there's benefits to having a glass of red wine or whatever the fuck it is, but I mean, I don't think there's a benefit to putting like a needle in you with a heroin or something like that.
No, probably not. But there is a Harvard professor that does just that. He comes home at night and does heroin because he studies all drugs, and that's one of the things he does. Harvard professor. But so you kind of got somebody cool on your podcast then, because I've had great experiences with drugs.
Why aren't you conceited?
Well, I don't mean it like that. I mean just to give this perspective.
I'm just kidding.
Because I have been somebody who has used and abused, I would say, every drug known to man except for like crocodile. Like, I'm not doing some stupid homemade
what
fucking.
Is crocodile?
It's some shit that they were doing like in Midwest, like where they would shoot it and like it starts eating away their skin and you like look like a crocodile.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. They couldn't get a heroin, so that's what they were doing. But so I've seen both spectrum of things. I've had good experiences with drugs, but because I've had respect for them. So I always knew the repercussions of them. So like, for instance, if I ever did cocaine, I never did it 2 days in a row because I would be nervous that on that second day I could possibly get addicted. Same thing with heroin, same thing with anything. Any hard drug like that, I always made sure never do it 2 days in a row. One drug that I did get not addicted to, but abused too much was angel dust. And in my mind, I didn't use it.
I don't even know what that is. I've heard of it.
Let me tell you some stories.
Like, I don't even know what it does. That's like, like I hear people talking about mushrooms and this and acid and angel dust and PCP and like I honestly, it's like I really don't focus on and learning. I don't like to focus on or fill my mind with stuff that I have no interest in. So I just never learned about that stuff. So it's like, it's not my world.
Right.
It's not people around me. So I just don't care about it. But I'm interested to know now just because we have something to talk about,
Well, so the reason why I was interested in drugs is because the drug education was stupid. If you're going to sit there and dare was the big thing that they were doing back when I was growing up.
Just say no.
You just say no. But if you're going to sit there and tell me that marijuana is this bad drug and it's addictive and blah, 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 and then I try it and I have the greatest time of my life on it, I'm then going to start to wonder about the other drugs you told me about.
No,
right.
Yeah.
So I did happen to go out after trying marijuana. It was experimental. But I was also... I guess clever too, because I would read up on the drugs and
all right, what to expect.
Yeah, and figure out what had physical addictions, what had mental addictions, stuff like that. But just to tell you a couple funny stories on angel dust, funny after the fact, right? And I always say that
is it dust? Is it like
So no, they call it that. So it's PCP, angel dust, but it usually comes in liquid form, and then you could take a cigarette, dip it in there. Or they have already taken that.
So you dip the cigarette in it, and then you smoke the cigarette?
And then you smoke the cigarette.
And you get high from that?
Oh, my God. Higher than you could imagine. So the first time I do angel dust, I'm like 24 years old. So I smoke the dip cigarette between myself and 2 other people. And I got beautifully high to where I was like, this is fucking amazing. So the next day, I bought 5 of them.
Oh.
5 of the dip cigarettes. And I smoked them back to back with myself and those other 2 people. Real quick, I went from thinking I had these godly powers to thinking I was dying. And it like kind of went on that seesaw for a fucking minute. And it was just freaky.
Did you think you could fly and
So not at that point, but then so after I get these 2 experiences with it, I'm like, this is kind of cool. I want to experiment a little bit more. It takes so as long as you don't do too much. If you do too much, you become a fucking moron. You could barely talk, whatever. If you smoke the right amount, so if you take a cigarette and you smoke like 5 pulls of it, if you could play the guitar, you are now a like 10 times better version guitar player.
Like
than
Jimi Hendrix you become.
And no joke, like I have videos because I could play a little acoustic, whatever. But then like you see me on that and it's like, it just opens up your brain to do stuff. And
now, is that to your mind? Like if somebody's watching you and sees it, do you still suck?
That's what I'm saying. So no, that's what I'm saying. There's videos of it because in my mind I'm like, whoa. But no. There's videos where I'm like, how the fuck am I doing that? Say it just enhances your whatever your
sensory.
Stuff like that? It enhances your natural ability. Like it gives you more strength. I don't know if it's the adrenaline.
Do you think people could do that and play a sport? Like if like somebody did PCP and went out to play a football game or a basketball game, you think it would enhance their sensory and
if you hit that sweet spot, but it's so hard to gauge where that sweet spot comes, and it's very easy to go too much to where, so here's where you go too much. I'm at my house in Red Bank and
Jersey.
Yes, sir. And I live in a condominium, high as a motherfucker on angel dust, don't know where I am. FedEx is delivering a package to my next door neighbor and
more angel dust.
Yeah, hopefully. And so like there's a patio here and then my neighbor's down here. So I was up a little bit like on a hill.
Yeah.
So I go outside fully naked and the FedEx guy's delivering a package and I'm standing there and I'm standing up and I'm shaking my dick around asking the FedEx guy, hey, FedEx, you ever see one of these? And my wife is trying to get me to come into the house, trying to get me to, I wouldn't, just like not paying attention.
So there you're doing stand-up comedy. Look at that.
Yeah,
see?
Basically.
You just like, you're in character.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So cops come And
I don't believe it.
Yeah, cops come, and luckily my wife is clever. They're like, "What's wrong with he's bipolar? He's off his meds." Like she thought real quick to
you were on your meds.
Oh yeah, I was on my meds for sure. So luckily they button me up, put me in the back of the ambulance, and bring me to a hospital rather than a jail, jail cell. So that's it. So you could literally be in a state to where, you're moving along great. And then boom, you do a little bit too much and you are gone. Like it's a hallucinogen and a dissociative. So yeah, it's in the same family as K or ketamine, but it's different.
Isn't that like a horse tranquilizer?
That's what K is. Yeah, okay, cat tranquilizer, horse. I think it's a cat tranquilizer because horse tranquilizer will probably kill humans. I think.
Anyone want to try that? Before my next SST race, I'll do that. You'll see me crash into a wall.
They're doing that stuff now. They're doing ketamine
cocktails, right?
No. It's for depression and anxiety. Like they'll do a clinical setting where an IV drip and you fucking go into a full on trip and it rewires. Is
that part of that like microdosing people are talking about?
So people are microdosing with shrooms. Yeah.
Mike Tyson, I saw him on a podcast and he took fucking.
That's not a microdose.
It looked like he was taking like from playing baseball back in the day, people would take chewing tobacco, like the leafy shit.
Yeah.
But it looked like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, who does that anymore? And he's just holding it there. And
that guy is an animal. I mean, that was like, like a quarter ounce of shrooms that he was like, he does that religiously. And a lot of people are doing that. That's something like the whole psychedelic culture. Like, so not for nothing, this is why this is what fascinated me with drugs was really the psychedelic portion of them. The other stuff is just fun, but it could lead down the psychedelic portion, which the angel dust is part of, but just further. But the LSD, the psilocybin shrooms, it opens up like doors in your brain and it connects you to things that feel so natural, but when you're not on it, you're not even aware of it.
I was going to ask you though, but is that real?
So
like when I go to bed at night, if I have a dream, I wake up, I know that wasn't real.
Right. So check this here.
I can be like, oh, I was in a Ferrari, but I wake up, there's not a Ferrari in there probably could be.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
so here's an instance.
That's my take on it because I don't have any desire to drink or do drugs.
Right.
And just because honestly, like I'm content with how I feel like in life. Like I'm a pretty happy guy.
Right.
Like even if like something bad happens, you know what? I was still happy.
Right.
I have my daughters who I love. They love me, and just friends and family that supported me. And I was racing. And
so psychedelics don't have to be. It doesn't have to be just for depression stuff. It could also be your connectedness to the world. So here's what you're saying about like if you thought about the Ferrari, is it there in the morning? So no, but here, check this out. So here's how I know it opens up shit in your brain that.
Well, I know Steve Jobs talked about that. Like, he's like, my greatest ideas came on when I was tripping on LSD, and like he quit school, and then he would just go into classes,
right?
Like, I guess not even as a student,
just
and
to
go in there, and that's how he came up with the fonts and the calligraphy, and he learned how to do that part, which then obviously Microsoft picked up and all that. Right. So I get that. Like he says, it opened up a door to where it's like, hey, I wouldn't have dreamed about that or thought about that, and I did because I was tripping on this,
So check this out. So we were all doing ecstasy was the rage back in the day. Like when I was in high school, that was fucking it. So there's this Meadowlands Fair that comes to East Rutherford.
I know the Meadowlands Fair. Yeah,
yes.
I grew up in Hillside, like not too far away from the Meadowlands.
So every end of June, July, that big old fair comes.
Huge fair.
And as kids, I lived in East Rutherford, so they would go and pay us like $20 an hour off the books to work there and shit. And all the
IRS is coming.
Was it?
IRS is going to come for you.
I'm sure. Please.
Maybe I don't think they got the IRS. Probably don't have a statute.
I've paid my fair share of taxes, IRS. You know that. I'd even do 1099s. Don't you dare. And the carnies come from all over the United States. They would bring the best drugs from all over the world or the United States. So we're all doing ecstasy, except me and my cousin, we each got a black gel tab of acid. So we were the only ones on acid in this room of about 8 to 12 people. So now, don't know how long shit's going on, but all of a sudden, him and I are locked into conversations. Everything's going around, the room, everybody's partying. Now, after being in this conversation for so long, all of a sudden, like, the room starts to get silent, and, like, we feel like everybody looking at us. We're like, what the fuck? So, like, we're looking around. They're like, I'm like, what's up, guys? They're like, what the fuck have you guys been doing? We're like, what? They're like, you have been talking to each other in some language that none of us have ever heard before. And then once they said that, I was like, holy shit. I was like, oh my God, we were. So we were literally speaking.
And you both understood each other?
Understood each other. And there were Spanish people in the room.
Like Klingon shit or something? Like, what are you talking?
Like, close to that.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Like, there were Spanish people in the room. It wasn't Spanish. It was some language I've never heard before.
And you don't speak a second language?
I don't speak a second language at all. At all.
Because your last name's Italian, I would think.
Yes.
So.
And I took Spanish 1 and 2 in high school. I
You don't speak any Italian?
Don't speak any Italian.
So stanno tutti bene. You wouldn't know? No. Dove vai? No, okay. So
I know nada.
Okay. Oh, wow.
But it was the strangest things because, like,
I'll teach you some later.
Yes, please.
Curse
Bafango.
words. No, that's actually not really. Everyone thinks that means fuck, but it really doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like go screw yourself, but kind of like.
Oh, see? You learned something new.
Exactly.
But yeah, so tying into the whole thing, like that, psychedelics don't just have to be if you're depressed or something like that. It really makes you tap into universal things, like getting into the whole, the pyramids and stuff like that. Like everybody's saying they're about 11,000 years old. When you start dived deeper into that, you realize they're probably way older than that. And then how the fuck were they making stuff like that without, the tools that we have now?
Yeah.
There was other forms of technology back then that got wiped away by things. And I'm not joking. These are things that when you take psychedelics, you start to tap into and can feel.
Well, I think also I think the human race that is on this Earth, would be ignorant to think that like we're the only ones in the universe, or in the whatever you want, the galaxies and everything, because it's so big. If you launched a rocket today, you keep going fucking for like nobody's ever went and said, okay, I hit the end. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And came back.
Exactly.
Like how many years it takes to get to Mars and stuff like that. So let me ask you a question though.
Sure.
So for like the drugs and the alcohol and stuff, again, never like it's well documented. I took a sip of Coors Light. It was warm. I was in the Army.
Ugh.
I was actually at the Holiday Inn in Baytown, Texas. I was
Shout
there
out.
in the Army. Yeah, Baytown. And we were just there, and I was 18, and somebody gave me a beer just to try, and I spit it out. I was like, so alcohol's never been in my stomach. I had it, and I was like, I don't know what piss tastes like, but that's probably it. So
let's hope not.
yeah. And then, but it was like, everyone's like, that's your problem. It was a warm Coors Light. It was shit beer, blah, blah,
True.
blah. Try it again. I'm like, nope, I don't have any desire. Just like one time I ate an egg salad sandwich and it sucked. And I was like, never eat that again. And like I had fried broccoli once. I just didn't like the texture. Never had that again. So it's for me, in my mind, it's like if I don't like something, I group them all together. Like to me, alcohol, drugs, broccoli, and egg salad, it's all the same. And I just won't touch it. So here's my question.
Sure.
It's like, this is my ADD. I come around. I bring it back. I'm bringing it back.
I love it.
Do you think that, again, I don't know the question or the answer to this. Do you think that, like, hey, if you're a good person and a happy person, that if you're doing PCP or like whatever you're doing enhances the goodness, and then if you're just like an absolute shitbag, that it's going to basically make you, like, is it going to exaggerate the positives or negatives of the person that's doing it?
So yeah, for sure with the LSD and the shroom, psilocybin, stuff like that. Yeah, so you could almost see auras on people when you're on it, for sure. But
I meant about you internally, like,
yeah. So that's what I was gonna say. So
like, do you become funnier?
I wouldn't say that.
Like,
I wouldn't say, but on PCP,
or nicer or happier and.
On PCP, like I said, it'll enhance you. So if you're funny, it makes you funnier. But the shrooms and stuff like that, it really, you're just experiencing stuff. So it's you might not even you might not even make sense while you're in it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't say it would make you funny, or maybe the things you're doing are funny, but yes, you will you're definitely introspective. Like you start to think of, something bad that you did, and it really weighs on you. Like it makes you a better person, and you're like, fuck, I should have handled that differently. Yeah. It makes you realize, like, the earth is one spot that we all live on. Let's try and be groovy and, chill on it together type of deal.
Yeah, it's just like I said, I like to say I want to learn more about it just because, I don't know, and I've been ignorant to that situation just because I didn't want to know, but, it just wasn't in my path at that time. But, just from talking to like, my guys over there and just different people, it's like, hey, why not get that perspective instead of just like dismissing it. Now, again, I don't personally, for me, I'll never condone that. Like I'm not going to be telling my kids like, go do this or go get a medical marijuana card. I think.
Well, let me ask you this.
You know what I mean?
You just said that with your kids, go get a medical marijuana card.
No, I said I would not.
No,
say
I know
that.
you said you would not, but
some people actually brag about that, and I think it's
But you would, if your kid was depressed, go let them get on Paxil or Zola. Okay, so no medicine. Period.
I know people that happened to, and even like when I was a kid, like they were like, "Oh, he's hyper. Let's go put him on this or that."
Right.
And the one thing I think they called it, I remember they called it Junie juice. And it was like, I forget what it is. It's like it's really for like hyperactive kids. I think they banned it eventually. But
Ritalin or something?
Yeah, Ritalin.
Yeah.
And they called it like, it's like it was a nickname. Like, oh, you got that kid's on the Junie juice. And that's, I don't know, we called it in Newark, New Jersey. Anyway, it's like, my mom's like, nope, I don't want to be on that. And I think that's kind of even like from my mom, because my mom's like a hypochondriac. Like if like she sneezes, it's like, I got to go get an MRI.
Oh, yeah.
It's like she's one of those.
Right.
Like, oh, I stubbed my toe. Okay, got to go to the foot doctor. So with me, I just didn't want to, I like to have all my faculties about me. I like to always feel like I'm in control, because it's just like, and it's funny because there's events I've been at and things I've been at where nobody remembers what happened, but I do.
Right.
And it's like, okay, like things got out of hand or something like that, or there's physical violence or somebody hit somebody and it's like, oh shit. And it's like, oh, I don't realize what I did. And to me, it's like, I don't get that. It's like, or even like a drunk driver, like, oh, I was fine driving. And it's like,
you weren't.
I was behind you and you fucking hit a tree.
Right.
It's like, so things like that. Like somebody said it before. He said, yeah, like, hey, I don't go too hard into drugs. I just like, if I take an edible every once in a while, but I do it when I know, okay, I'm home for the night.
Right.
I'm in my lane. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just fucking doing it just to chill and whatever, get in the zone. To me, I think like, okay, if you're in the confines of your own house, you're not hurting anyone and you're doing whatever, to me, I think that's okay. Like that's between you and yourself, and you know what I mean?
I think me personally, right? I think if we're a free society and America is the freest society there is, who the fuck are they to tell us what we can and cannot put in our bodies? Yes, you can tell us we can't do this in public.
As long as it doesn't hurt. Like my point is like, don't be like doing PCP or LSD
and then going to hang out at a playground or some shit, right?
Fucking getting like 10, like have one bottle of wine and 2 mixed drinks,
right?
All this shit, and then getting in a car, and then like. Or thinking like a shower can sober you up. I actually literally had somebody say, showers can sober you up. And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah. So a shower could sober you up? So like you get pulled over and the cop goes, hey, do you know you were swerving? And like, don't worry, officer. Yeah, I had a bottle of wine and 2 mixed drinks, but I took a shower, so I'm going to blow a .00. It's like, no, you're fucking ignorant if you think that.
Very true.
You know what I mean? Like, and the fact that when you do that, that's when your actions then kind of like cross the line, because what if you hit, even like I said, I just saw on the news, somebody drove a car through somebody's like they were doing a podcast and they drove right through the fucking podcast.
Wow.
Like they were like talking like this, but there was like a window right there. And the funny thing, not the funny thing, but they had those, like the metal poles that they put cement in to like,
yeah.
So they had them there, but they had them so spaced that the car fit perfectly between them. So they need another one there. And then it went through. And then like the podcasters were like this close to getting hurt, but they didn't get hurt.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's how Anne Heche, she was doing the podcast, and she was drinking on it, vodkas and soda and shit.
That's how she died?
That's how she died. She left the podcast, fucking speeding.
She burned to death, I said.
Yeah.
I heard, right?
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
That's fucking nuts. What a way to go.
Number one fear of death is burning to death. Number two
race car drivers have that too. It's like,
I'm sure.
Fuck. When I see smoke, it's like,
later.
See ya.
And then two would be the drowning or buried alive type of deal. Even though it's not painful, the panic.
Yeah. In York County recently, there was two gentlemen that were just lovely people, a great family, and they went out on a skiing trip and they got like literally buried in an avalanche. Like, what a way to go. And honestly, it's like nobody deserves that. And they were just such great people for the community. And, you know, my heart breaks for them and their family because, like, they were just great people.
What a way to go, man. Freezing, not being able to breathe. And it was a family. It wasn't.
Two brothers. There were 5 brothers in their prominent family, but they were just, you know, on vacation trying to enjoy life. And then, you know, and it just, they were hella skiing and it just happened. And, you know, it makes you think. Like, wow, you know, because that's like never in a million years you think you're going on vacation and you're going to be buried alive, you know?
No.
Yeah.
I just still can't get over that you go on vacation and don't have yourself a nice Jack on the rocks at the end of the night to cool off. And like, so I'm a big proponent of like, that's a nice way to relax. After you,
a lot of my friends do it. Some of my friends, they have like a bourbon and a cigar, and I'm just like, but to me, I'm like, I just don't like the smell of that. They're like, hey, you want to go? Or like, hey, let's go up to the roof and I have a cigar. I'm like, you can. And like, that's why it's like, even before you're like, hey, I'm gonna go cigarette. I'm like, hey, somebody take them upstairs.
Beautiful roof.
Yeah.
My
So
God.
Honestly, so right now we're in York, Pennsylvania. What up?
Shout out.
White Rose
Beautiful
City.
Studio.
So, and you won't believe it, but some of the prettiest sunsets are on this rooftop deck.
Really?
I'm talking, I've been in Hawaii, I've been all over the world, Australia. That I don't know what color orange it is, but it's some of the pretty, you'll probably see it today. You'll be here. It's fucking crazy.
I was not just expecting the view, like, you know, driving in here, it's got a nice view, getting over to see over the landscape and shit. Like, I didn't realize.
Some places, yeah. I mean, some places you won't want to go. Like
I'm sure.
They're working on that. I think we need a new mayor in town. So.
Oh, yeah? You're running?
No,
Bill Hines for mayor?
I actually probably could run and beat his ass, but
I bet you could.
You know, but no, this mayor actually doesn't prescribe to what we were talking about. This mayor will get like half crocked and then drive around and
the good old boys, like back in the day, man. That's how like you know, the cops talk about old teachers talk about cops would pull them over drinking and driving, like in the 50s and shit.
Oh yeah,
you better get home, you know, get in my car. I'm gonna drive you home. Like
no seatbelts,
no seatbelt,
toddler in the front seat.
Oh yeah,
climbing on the dashboard like it was a cat and shit.
Eating raw hamburger meat. So I don't know. My grandmother would do it when I was younger, eating raw hamburger meat. And
well, it's like sushi, I guess, right? It's like instead of the fish,
this shit you could get like fucking
salmonella,
or something,
botulism.
Eventually, there was like something on news: don't eat raw hamburger meat, and it's like a no-brainer. It's the shittiest meat from the cow. You know?
Probably, yeah.
It's all ground up garbage. But yeah, so I don't want to say like a proponent of things. It's just I think that for some people who are in funks, some people who are depressed, anxious, stuff like that, I think there's an alternative to these SSRIs that people are on.
Yeah, to me, so those things, I know somebody that was just on one. I don't know what it was called, but I think Paxil was banned a long time ago, right?
I don't know.
But so what? It's like a serotonin type drug, right? So somebody was on it, and then literally they quit cold turkey, and they fucking went nuts.
Oh, yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
They were just like, so my point is like, okay, like I think if my friends that have done weed, or I don't even know how you like do weed, smoke, what?
Yeah. Do weed, smoke pot.
Whatever. Fucking hit a bowl, whatever they say. If they didn't do it one day, they're not going fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going nuts. Like, whereas like this person didn't get their like Paxil pill that next day.
Oh, yeah.
And they're fucking like massive headaches and, you know, like I think like if you could skip a day with like smoking weed or people doing that, or even like, but here's the thing. Conversely, I know people that need to have a drink or two. Like they come home from work, They need to do a couple beers or shots or whatever, and they don't do that, right? If they don't do that, then they
Withdrawals.
They get shaky.
So
and
there's
weird.
only 2 drugs on this planet that if you quit cold turkey from, you could die, go into seizures, die. One of them is alcohol.
Yeah.
And the second one are benzos. That's Xanax. So alcohol and Xanax are the 2 drugs that if you have a physical addiction to it, you need to wean off, because if you quit, you could actually die, go into seizures.
See, to me, that's a drug you shouldn't take. Like, you should just like, hey, if it's like fucking you're on it. And to me, I think there's too much reliance on like the like prescription drugs. Like, I think, like, to me, what like, again, I understand weed because it's like, I wouldn't do it myself, and I don't want, like, I just don't see the need of it. But I mean, shit, it's grown outside. You know what I mean? It's like a natural thing. And to me, like, personally, from my research, I think like weed is the far less dangerous of them all. Like, meaning like alcohol to me should have more restrictions on it than weed.
For sure.
And the other thing too is like anything could be addicting. Like shit, a Big Mac and a Coke can be addicting.
Oh yeah.
And or abusive. Like people like, yeah, I'm gonna have the supersize that shit, or
right.
Like Skittles can be abusive. So anyway, that's just my take on it. But I mean, we could be talking about this, and we're almost out of time here.
Yeah,
we didn't even get into a lot of stuff we wanted to get into.
I know.
But let's talk like this, like quickly. We'll wrap up and like where are you going to be next in comedian, like, and where we can find your comedy shows. We want to talk about that.
Yes.
Mention your podcast again, so they follow you there, and then I actually, maybe in a couple months have you back on and just like say, hey, how'd your first couple paid gigs go? And,
no doubt.
And are you on, to make sure, I actually hold you accountable to say, hey, are you any step closer to having your face on that bus?
Yes. Dude, I love that. Please hold me accountable. And thank you for having me on. I will definitely love to come back on. If you want to, I got the upcoming show March 12th at the Producers Club. There's another show at the end of the month or the beginning of April. That's an even bigger show. I haven't posted it yet, but I will be posting that relatively soon. Good Times Universe is where you can go for anything. All one word. Good Times U if you're looking for me on Instagram. And get ready, people, because 2023 is going to be filled with me getting my stand-up chops down, and 2024 is going to be my year. So I'm excited for upcoming stuff.
We look forward to it. And everyone, thank you for tuning in and watching and listening to the ThrillCast. Boom. Be good.